Sinclair Broadcast Group, connecting people with content everywhere.
Ahead on America This Week, United We Stand.
At this hour, our democracy is under unprecedented assault.
Take the hill!
But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order.
2021 starts off with chaos on Capitol Hill after protesters storm Congress. And Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar is back.
We just have to protect anyone who's vulnerable, try to keep them out of the hospital, and for heaven's sake, get vaccine in arms.
His updates on the vaccine rollout, that's right now on America This Week, United We Stand. Welcome to America This Week, United We Stand. In the first week of 2021, we witnessed one of the most extraordinary events in American history, the storming of Capitol Hill, with a small group of Republican lawmakers challenged the certification of the Electoral College vote this week. They were interrupted by pro-Trump demonstrators. Sinclair National Correspondent James Rosen has more.
Madam Speaker and members of Congress.
Not long after Vice President Pence gavelled the joint session of Congress to order, opening the door to a challenge of the certification of the Electoral College vote by a minority of Republican lawmakers, chaos descended on the Capitol complex.
We've never seen this before. But now you're seeing that this is a power. You see it. Not deface the statues.
But the protesters did inflict some damage, roaming the hallowed halls seemingly at will, with even the office suite of Speaker Pelosi compromised.
They broke the glass.
Everybody stay down. Get down.
As terrified spectators watched from the House gallery, Capitol Police drew their firearms close to the House floor. On the Senate side, protesters ran wild on the floor. One young man brazenly occupied the same chair Vice President Pence had an hour earlier when he presided over the Republicans' truncated challenge to the certification of the Electoral College vote.
And it will stand in recess.
Lawmakers in both chambers were evacuated.
Get down under your chairs if necessary, so we have folks entering the rotunda.
In Wilmington, President-elect Biden called the violence at the Capitol a god-awful display, an assault on the rule of law, chaos unlike anything we've seen in modern times.
It borders on sedition. I call on President Trump to go on national television now to fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution and demand an end to this siege.
Minutes later at the White House, President Trump released a video that repeated his baseless claim the election was stolen from him before imploring his supporters to stay peaceful and, quote, go home.
We love you. You're very special, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace.
By late Wednesday, a form of peace once again prevailed on the Capitol, but the place would never be the same, and many now await investigations into how this shocking breach could have occurred in the first place.
James, wow, what a day. What a day, what a week, what a month, what a year, what a decade. History was made this week.
For sure, and I would attest to that as someone who's been covering politics and national security scandals and investigations, campaigns and elections from here in the nation's capital for over 20 years. And I would have to say, with the exception of 9/11, of course, we've never seen anything remotely resembling what unfolded yesterday, Eric.
So where do they go from here, James? I know they're still cleaning up, they're sweeping up the glass and whatnot, but is this somehow going to play into some sort of, are they saying this will be a mandate for President-elect Joe Biden?
In terms of the political ramifications of what happened yesterday, I don't think that anyone would be well advised to imagine that they are all settled as we stand here this morning. They are going to evolve and shoot off in all kinds of different directions. One agency, of course, that will receive a special scrutiny in light of yesterday's crimes and tragedy, certainly with respect to the death of that young woman, will be the U.S. Capitol Police. The questions will be raised as to how the East Perimeter was susceptible to this kind of siege. Questions will be raised about why so few arrests were made inside the Capitol, where we know a number of crimes occurred of different categories ranging from trespassing to vandalism to assaults on law enforcement officers and resisting arrest. And yet a very low number of arrests was made. And so I think there may even be pressure for President-elect Biden and congressional leaders to appoint some kind of blue ribbon inquest, complete with subpoena power and hearings to review what went wrong here from a security perspective and to formulate responses to try to ensure that something like this never happens again, Eric.
Okay, James, thank you very much, and please stay safe on Capitol Hill. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Let's bring in host of Armstrong Williams Show and the Right Side podcast, Armstrong Williams. Armstrong, you were there at the protest. Can you give us a little bit of just give us a brief history of what you saw, what you know?
You know, what's fascinating about the protest is that you could tell that while many people came and they were protesting, you could tell that these people are very peaceful. I mean, I've never seen so much a diverse group. Asians, so many black Americans, which the media won't show. And people were making clear this is not about race. This is about the fact that we don't believe they represent our interests anymore. And then all of a sudden, when they realized through some kind of message that went out that Vice President Pence was not going to challenge, they began to march to storm the door. They literally just, like a flash, like a light went off, just something happened. Somebody said, take back your house. They started storming the door. And for those who are creating this myth that law enforcement, like Capitol Hill Police, just let them in, are you kidding me? Are you watching this footage? They had no choice. I mean, what do you do? What do you do? Even if you have the best military in the world, even if you have the best police force, what are you going to do? Just shoot thousands and thousands of people? And plus, none of these people were armed. Let me make sure I say this to you. None of them had any kind of gun. The only thing they had were the flags in their hands and the fire extinguishers that they were pulling out of the Capitol. But other than that, they were unarmed. None of them were armed. And so to see this chaos and to see the way Capitol Police has handled this and the fact that they're under scrutiny now, they did the best that they possibly could in this situation, given the circumstances, given how they were just overwhelmed. And the fact, as sad as it is, I hate the fact that Ashley lost her life from San Diego, but given the circumstances, many, many more people could have died, could have been wounded, could have been hurt. Could have been far more disastrous had it not been for the restraint, the training, and how measured Capitol Hill Police were in that moment.
I only have about a minute or so. I just want in that moment, when Ashley Babbitt, the Air Force veteran, was shot and killed. Do you have any sense of why that happened?
Well, listen. When they said the perimeter was being breached. I know on one side you had the black ops, they were all in black, but what the problem was on the other side of that barrier, I assume there were lawmakers, and they were trying to protect those lawmakers, and obviously she and others ran up to the barrier. It looked like a window, but it was a barrier, it was a blockade that put it up, and the people on the other side who had no idea what was going on just came out and started shooting anywhere. They're like kids, they just started shooting, and all of a sudden she was hit and she fell back. And then the Capitol Hill Police, I assume they were Capitol Hill Police, they realized what was going on. They had everybody back down. I just could not understand. I don't even know if they realized that law enforcement armed with those big guns were on the other side. But she died. They thought she was breaching the perimeter. There's no question that they thought on the other side that their lives were being threatened and there was going to be a mob to come in and do what they could not imagine. So their instinct was to fire.
Yeah, Armstrong, thank you so much for that perspective. It kind of brings a lot of things into focus for us. Again, Armstrong Williams, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Amid protests in Washington, D.C., the Democrats landed another major victory. Jon Ossoff has been declared winner of the second Senate runoff race in Georgia. His win is a sweep for Democrats and dramatically changes the landscape on Capitol Hill. Sinclair's chief political correspondent, Scott Thuman, explains.
Jon Ossoff has indeed defeated incumbent Republican Senator David Perdue is resonating well beyond Georgia's borders because what it means in conjunction with Raphael Warnock unseating Senator Kelly Loeffler overnight is that Democrats now have taken both races. They'll have 50 seats in the chamber, and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris would then serve to break any tie. That opens up an entirely new path for a Biden administration on how it wants to govern now that it has, albeit a slim majority in both the House and Senate. This also is seen as a major rejection of President Trump in a state that had been safe haven for Republicans for the past 20 years or so. And it's significant that two political outsiders, men who had never held public office, can upset two incumbent senators. And by the way, it also means that President Trump will be the first one since the Great Depression to lose both his re-election bid to the White House and also lose the House and Senate. In Savannah, Georgia, I'm Scott Thuman.
Ahead on America This Week, United We Stand, a fiery debate between our panel over what happened in our nation's capital. You won't want to miss this. And we want to hear your thoughts on what happened at the Capitol. Call us toll-free at 888-601-0032. Leave us a voice message. It's your turn to speak up and speak out.
United we stand, we never fall. This perilous fight, it takes one and all. Everyone stands, American strong. Strength by one equals strength by all. American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time. We stand, America. United we stand. We stand, America. United we stand.
Let's hear from both sides of the aisle here. Going head-to-head, Sinclair political commentator Amisha Cross and host of America First on Salem Radio and Sinclair media contributor Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Okay, guys, let's start with the D.C. protest. Amisha, I'll start with you. Kind of an ugly day in the nation's capital. Go.
Absolutely. What we saw was an insurrection. We watched as individuals who have fashioned themselves as protesters who absolutely are not patriots, but people who align themselves with President Trump, these MAGA individuals who had organized online for months now and basically took his marching orders. They were here in the nation's capital. They broached the Capitol to basically try to thwart what is considered a procedural advancement to ensure the peaceful transfer of power. That is what we saw yesterday. These individuals who have no concern for our democracy, no concern for our Constitution, but a love of all things Trump and a love of all things these conspiracy theories pop up and feel like they are defending President Trump, marching around with Confederate flags. We now know that 4 people were actually killed yesterday. We saw an incitement of violence, and all of this on the heels of a president who continues to ignore the fact that he lost re-election, a president who not only lost re-election but lost it by millions of votes and continues to tell his followers that they can do something to change it. This is how it all got started, and this is how it sadly has ended.
All right, Sebastian, first of all, Misha, 1 was killed. I believe 3 died additionally, but let's just be a little bit,
yes,
take a deep breath here. Sebastian, how do you respond to Misha's assessment of what went on?
Well, as somebody who spent 6 years teaching the U.S. military irregular warfare and counterterrorism, let's get our terms right. What happened yesterday was disgraceful, was shameful, was illegal, but it's not an insurrection. In human history, unarmed individuals have never executed an insurrection. And let's be clear, the white woman who was killed by police yesterday in the halls of Congress was unarmed. And I find it fascinating that she's worried about what happened yesterday, but is strangely not perturbed and doesn't use the word insurrection or mob violence for what Antifa and BLM did to America for the last 10 months. More than 30 Americans killed, half of them Black Americans, including David Dorn, the retired police captain, gunned down by Antifa as he was trying to protect his friend's store. So let's have some consistency, please, in how we talk about these sad events, whoever is responsible.
Amisha.
Peacefully protesting for your civil rights and trying to ensure that you don't die at the hands of the police, like we've seen many people across this country who happen to look like me, is not going to be equated with what we saw yesterday. And quite frankly, I am disgusted that I continually hear conservatives who will try to race bait on issues like this. What I know about BLM, what I've seen across this country, and especially even in DC, when the largely peaceful protests were occurring, what we saw was that there were barricades put up, there were tanks, there were armored vehicles, there were so many security forces. Yesterday, what we knew for months was going to occur in this city, there was not any of that level of police presence at all. They were undermatched. We know that there was an IED bomb found. So please do not try to downplay the individuals and the attack that they did on our nation's capital yesterday, because it is just unbelievable. It is un-American. And these individuals who have continually followed this MAGA doctrine and this insanity that President Trump has talked about for years now, those were the people who came here and attacked this country. Those are the reasons why the entire international universe right now is looking at America and wondering what the hell is going on to our democracy.
All right. Let me get Sebastian for a final thought. Last word to you, Sebastian.
I don't hear you outraged for David Dorn. I don't hear you outraged for the federal agent shot in California, in Oakland.
I am outraged.
Why do you have double standards? Why do you have double
over
standards?
And over again and try to
lie.
flip the that is what I'm out.
Tanks on the
that
street.
Is not a part of the
Amisha,
you're a propagandist. You're a propagandist.
Guys, Amisha, allow Sebastian to finish. I gave you 2 cracks at that apple. Sebastian, your final thought.
Insanity. I mean, sheer insanity and disingenuousness. Tanks on the streets. Really, when Muriel Bowser pulled the National Guard out of D.C. as Black Lives Matter and Antifa were trying to burn down a church 1 block from the White House.
Let's try and tone it down here if we can. Heated on both sides, obviously. Amisha Cross, Sebastian Gorka, thank you very much. Coming up on America This Week, United We Stand, Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar gives us an update on the COVID-19 vaccine rollout.
United we stand, we never fall. This perilous fight, it takes one and all. Everyone stands, American strong. Strength by one equals strength by all. American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time. We stand American United we stand. We stand American strong.
City by city, state by state, town by town, stand American great. Everyone stands American strong. When strength by one equals strength by all.
American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time.
We stand American
United we stand.
We stand American
United we stand. United we stand, we never fall. This perilous fight, it takes one and all. Everyone stands, American strong. Strength by one equals strength by all. American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time.
We stand American
United we stand.
We stand American
United we stand.
So far, over 15 million coronavirus vaccines have been distributed across the United States, but According to the CDC, less than 5 million Americans have received their first dose. This week, I spoke with Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar about what was causing the delay. Take a listen.
Yeah, so it's important that we think about just how all of this works. So we actually made 20 million doses of vaccine available in the month of December. And at this point, actually 20 million doses have actually shipped and been distributed. The FDA, though, didn't approve these vaccines until just days before Christmas. We didn't control the timing of that. It ended up being days before Christmas. We got vaccine out, but with Christmas and New Year's, of course, there's going to be a scale up that happens in terms of getting shots in arms. You're going to have, we allocate the vaccine to our governors. The governors designate where to ship to. We get orders from providers. We ship to the providers. They've got to set up the vaccination clinics, et cetera. And then we have to get the data reporting. And that CDC data reporting is both incomplete and delayed at this point. Now, I'm pleased to say that even with the incompleteness, we're seeing now vaccinations post New Year's moving at a pretty good clip, about 500,000 a day in the latest reports getting vaccinated. But we're going to keep pushing to get our governors to get more shots in arms, because this vaccine is meant to be put in people's arms. It's not meant to be stored in freezers.
Secretary, there's some debate on whether to, one of these vaccines it's a two-course. So there's one shot, and either 21 or 28 days later, you get your second course. The discussion is whether or not to delay a second course for someone who's been vaccinated once and try and get more people vaccinated once. What are your thoughts on that?
So we have to go with the data that's been generated that supports getting we call it immunogenicity, which is the protection from the vaccine. Now, as manufacturers, Moderna or Pfizer or others, generate data that could support a different schedule or different dosing, obviously the FDA is going to consider that, but we're going to go with what the FDA says the data shows in terms of use, and that means currently, both Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are a 2-dose regimen. As you said, Pfizer is 21 days apart. Moderna is 28 days apart. Now, the exciting news is we hope to get data soon from Johnson & Johnson on their vaccine, and that's a single-dose regimen. And so there, one shot is one person protected. So that, if we get that, that'll be a very important advance.
And so you leave it up to the governors of each state to make the decision on how they distribute and inject?
Well, we have to. You really can't federalize that. We don't do any vaccine program with a federally controlled, administered system. We do hundreds of millions of vaccinations every year. We have a system that works really well. Our hospitals, our doctors' offices, and very importantly, our retail chain pharmacies. And we're leveraging that. Leverage what works. Don't build something new. That's what happened with Obamacare, trying to build healthcare.gov instead of using the private insurance the system that already works. You build some federal different system, it's just going to have execution error and fail. This is a system that works. Put the product into that system. Now, the governors, because the vaccine remains a scarce resource as we are launching, we've asked them to tell us where they'd like to prioritize and send it. But I'm actually now encouraging governors to go broader. I think we've got too many governors that are being very prescriptive about which groups of people get it initially. We just have to protect anyone who's vulnerable, try to keep them out of the hospital. And for heaven's sake, get vaccine in arms. Don't keep it in your freezers in the hopes that you're going to focus just on some very narrow prioritized group.
Sir, listen, for the most, generally speaking, governors are not doctors, and this virus and the vaccine have been a moving target over time. We learn as we go. I do believe Governor Cuomo made a lot of mistakes early. Very likely a lot of people died because of some of the mistakes that he made early on. He recently took a shot at you, sir. I'd like to play it for the audience. I'd like you to respond. Take a listen.
Secretary Azar, Dr. Redfield, how you can explain to the American people your lack of action, your negligence, your irresponsibility.
Sir, what do you say to Governor Cuomo?
It's just continued ignorant demagoguery up there. I can't possibly explain it. What he's talking about is he wants extensive travel restrictions in terms of coming into New York from other countries, especially the United Kingdom. We've actually set up a testing regime for individuals requiring that anyone coming from the United Kingdom on a flight has to be tested within 72 hours of taking that flight. He's talking about this mutation on the virus, which is one of about 4,000 mutations we've seen on this coronavirus. They mutate all the time. This is a more it does appear to be, from the data we've seen in the UK, a more transmissible mutation of the virus. It does not appear from the data to be a more severe strain. These viruses are going to spread. You can attempt to slow them, and we've done that through the president's aggressive action. You're not going to stop that spread. Like I say, we've seen almost 4,000 mutations. You couldn't find the original Chinese mutation anymore in the United States. That's how much these viruses change.
It's just, sir, it just drives me crazy when the guys who made some mistakes early on are pointing fingers left and right, and as you point out, some serious demagoguery. Maybe a guy who's going to try and run for president a couple years down the road. Secretary Azar, we really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, Eric. Good to be with you.
Set your DVR so you never miss an episode of America This Week, United We Stand. Just go to facebook.com/America Bolling, all one word. See where and when we air in your city. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. So if you miss a show or want to rewatch an interview, you can see them all right there.
United we stand, we never fall. This perilous fight, it takes one and all. Everyone stands, American strong. Strength by one equals strength by all. American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time. We stand, America. United we stand. We stand, America. United we stand.
America This Week, America's fastest growing political show, points out how rough and tumble politics shape opinion in every region in our country. We tell American stories, stories that touch our people, determine our politics, focus on the future of America.
I'm Eric Bolling. Join me for a fascinating look at America This Week. Thanks again for joining me for another America This Week, United We Stand. 2021 is shaping up to be a wild ride already, from chaos in D.C., where protesters stormed the Capitol, to an election runoff that gave the left a full majority. And let's not forget the ever-mutating coronavirus. What will the rest of 2021 bring? Whatever it is, we better buckle up, folks. Have a great night, everybody.
All right, y'all. Hey, I'm not about to be taken out. This is the last thing I'm taking now. If it ain't a $500 bill, don't give me that.